What's up, suckers? Alright, today we're going to, just as I said, just as I promised, we're going to do some resoiling. So recycling of soil, a little bit of repotting. I don't have too many that I'm thinking need to move around, but first, let me get a bucket. Alrighty, so now I have my trusty dusty bucket. It's been outside for a long time. And inside my bucket, I actually have soil. Mother Nature's best friend is having soil. Okay, so I'm being smart again. Remember in the past, I kept saying like, oh, I need gloves. You should wear gloves. Well, I'm getting smarter. I'm wearing gloves. So today's first contender, I have a pot that needs a new partner. And then I have its old soil. So I'm actually going to dump the old soil inside. And then I'm going to mix it with the new soil. And even though there's not... Yeah, you guys are going to be watching my head at this point. Okay. Even though... Whoops, kidding. A whole lot of soil that was originally in this pot, I'm going to make sure that whatever plant goes in here that is currently in soil will just get a little bit of rejuvenation and refreshment. So, to start that, I'm going to fill up this pot halfway. Now, it does go really far back, so the only thing I'm going to be concerned about is filling up this back part like that. So this part is empty. This back part has soil in it. And then I think these guys are going to be one of the ones that I'm going to move around. So far in my face that I can see, I only have another one that could potentially move up. Don't have too many babies that I feel are too big for their pot that I can immediately... Nope, never mind. Totally joking. I can immediately see needs help. So this one definitely needs help. I can almost guarantee you that the minute I pull it out, it's going to be completely root bound. So this one's definitely going to need some refreshment. So we're going to start with that one actually. So put in a little bit more soil just because this one is root bound. So 90% of the soil that was in the pot is now officially part of the root system. And then I'm actually going to take off these dead leaves and put them in my bucket over here. Not the soil bucket, but a box. I just have a recycle box. That way I can get rid of all the dead stuff. Oops, dropped my glove. Now, because this succulent is really soft, I don't have to, and there's no spines on it, I don't have to worry about necessarily keeping my gloves on the whole time. I'd be more concerned if I kept my glove on and tried pulling this thing apart, because then I feel like I would definitely destroy the succulent itself. So, we're going to do that. And then be a little gentle when you do break this up. Yeah, you can hear... I'm going to do it right over the bucket, and any spare soil that is left over from the root system is going to fall in the bucket. I would like to maintain the roots as much as possible. I do not want to destroy this plant or even put it into shock. Like, this is your season. Don't die on me now. So I'm going to take its original pot, grab some new soil, put it inside. Again, moving it around, creating a perfect soil centerpiece, placing it right on top, and then putting more brand new recycled soil all around to keep it close to the top, packing in that hole that's back there. That's the only complicated part about this whole pot, is that there's a whole back piece to it. And then any leftover soil, I'm just going to tap inside the bucket. And there it is, my new baby. So once I get this guy all in here, this is one of the ones that I let the rain water, but because it was so root bound, I don't actually believe it got the water that it needed. So I'm going to water it shortly after this video. So that's one of them. So now this tiny pot is actually not really big enough for anything else that I have. So I'm going to put it in the pile of no longer using. I have a ton of square pots that are bigger for some of my plants that I can officially use. So I'm going to grab this guy again, mix up the recycled soil. Depending on what goes in this pot, I'm going to do it half full. I do have other pots underneath me that I can potentially use. So now I'm going to kind of give a good look around. This one is heckin' cute. Definitely ready to move on. So we're going to just kind of massage the sides. I'm going to dump it out. I want to see what the root system looks like because this is one of the ones that I purchased from that online order. Very happy. So now dumping the soil back in the bucket, mixing it up, pouring half recycled, half brand new soil in. Now, because this one doesn't actually have that big of a root system, I'm just going to give it the recycled soil, just putting it right on top, barely even burying it to a point, still resting it inside. And then that is done and good to go. I'm going to do another sibling plant. I'm not quite sure where to put this guy because I want to create a list for myself of who needs to get watered and who was watered. So that's what we'll do. That's how we'll work on our succulents. There's a couple of them that I can see in my actual propagation group that can be replanted. Looks like they're deep enough for this square pot, so I think that's what I'll do next. It's just repot it. So again, this one I'm only gonna fill up almost half full because the soil that it's in is really tall, but it's really thin. So that's where we're gonna go. And this is one of the ones that I watered last time. So as you can see, nice and packed. And then I just want to see how deep these guys go. Very carefully. All right, that's very cute. I like that. That makes me happy. All right, I'm gonna just put this whole thing down. Create a tiny divot in the center with my hand. Float it on top. Not go crazy yet, because I'm gonna pack it in with its new soil. This one I don't feel the need to break up at all. And done. And I can put a couple other ones in here because they were all kind of planted together. Some I definitely tried to propagate, and they did really well. The tips will be disintegrated because it's ultimately using that for nutrient source. So I will keep that all together in the same way that it was planted. And then there's a couple other ones in here that I did propagate. So I've got this guy that's got a baby going. I've got this one that's got a great root system. So there's actually a lot of them in here that are doing fantastic. So not to make a long video longer, I don't feel really the need to move around and plant every single one. Another option that I have for succulents is my Mother of Millions. Now, the really cool thing about this plant is, and a lot of people who are in the succulent world will know, so these are the babies off the parent plant, and then as you travel further down, you see that there's all of these babies. Oh, I'm pissing off a spider. Sorry. Hold on. Yeah, he's not very happy. He's like, wait a minute, you just destroyed my home. I like spiders in my plants because they keep mites off. Alright, so these babies are feeding off the mother plant. Eventually this whole thing will fall off. All these babies will separate, and then I will have more. So what I can do is actually pull these two guys out, put them in a brand new pot, and I've got another one that will eventually turn into this one, and then this one will put off a bunch of babies, and then I'll have another one, and another one, and another one, and that's the thing about the mother of millions, is it literally creates millions of them. So that's another thing I can do. Or I have other baby jade that ended up pulling off from its parent plant. This is where this came from, and so I can pull this out and make it into a brand new jade, and then have another jade and another jade and another jade. So they're very hardy, very thick leaves. I'm actually going to put that one down in my propagation section and create another jade. And so there's that. This one did get into a little bit of a scuffle when I was removing it from its original store, so a lot of these leaves are just a little damaged, but the plant overall is still very happy. So I'm not gonna mess with it, not gonna move it around too much. But I'm absolutely in love with the red tips. So pretty. And then this one's just got this gorgeous red, and it's almost a firecracker. I'm gonna try to pull off this. There we go. And so yeah, this one also pushed off babies. This jade pushed off a baby. This is one of the ones that was upstairs that got attacked by mites. So some of the leaves are just a little damaged, but I ended up being able to save it. I quarantined it by itself. I put it in its own place, and it's looking fantastic. So again, just upkeeping with paying attention to your plants. Yeah, so this one is the only one that I was really concerned about because it got attacked, and its other parent plant is over here that it also got attacked. So as you can see, it just looks very scarce. And then again, this one has a weed in it. There's a couple of my plants that have weeds. This is telling me how good the soil is. So that's why I don't immediately remove it. Also, I have a spider web. I don't want to freak them out too much. These are the babies, the other babies that I got from that purchase. I have some propagations going on in here. This guy just needs a little bit of assistance. He got turned over in his pot during a very windy storm, so he's not even in his soil anymore. Let's work with this guy. So when I go through and I pick my plants, I try to look at every single one before I just immediately go, oh yes, this one's fine. The only reason I would ever be hesitant of this one is because during that winter storm, even though its roots are going this direction, the rest of the plant is going this direction. So roots are now this way, head is this way. So when I go to plant this, I'm going to very, very carefully try to prop it up against the side of the pot, and then hopefully it will kind of like fix itself. So I'm going to downgrade this one. This is the rare time I will ever downgrade a succulent to get it to grow the proper direction. And again, this one is a little root bound. I am so sorry. I didn't know that you fell behind the other succulents and then grew the wrong direction. So I'm actually going to break it up around the plant, try to tell it, hey, you're actually growing the wrong direction. Because you can actually see some trees do that. Is that when they fall over, if the roots are still attached to the ground, they'll just grow in the direction that they're used to, which is sideways now. So I'm going to create a little divot in there with my finger. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'll put it all the way at the bottom and then actually use the main pot to put it on the side, and then use the rest of the soil to prop it up. All right, so that's the way I'm going to do that. I'm going to separate these plants a little bit, and I'm actually going to point it. So even though they're pointing this direction, I'm going to point it this way for when the sun does rise and the sun does set, and hopefully they'll say, hey, I'm actually pointing the wrong direction, and then they'll fix themselves. So that's that. Those were the ones that I was really concerned about, other than this guy. Alright, so in my last video, I was telling you how I've had this one for longer than 6 months, actually. And it hasn't had soil. I found it in a box with another succulent that was on top of it. And it's pushed off some roots, but it keeps growing just like this. So I'm going to put it in a pot. And hopefully I have a big enough pot for it, because it definitely needs a tall pot at this point. I might have a tall pot upstairs. Okay, so the pot it's currently in is completely broken because the pot that I got it in was actually in a box and it was crushed with another plant. So this just needs a little bit of shaking. Get some of that good soil on top, some of the dry soil on the bottom. Okay. So now this has some bubbles on it. I believe these are bugs, so I'm just gonna pluck those guys right off. There we go, very nice. There's a couple of them on the inside. I'm wanting to save this guy and not leave him to be eaten or suffer any longer. So I'm actually gonna pull him off. They honestly, since I went to school for marine biology, these honestly look like little mussels that like growing on the sides of rocks, is that they just kind of chill out and sit around. So, ugh, excuse you. I know this pot isn't tall enough, but dang. Alright, so just to start it, excuse me, boss, I think we need a taller pot. Yeah, we definitely need a taller pot. Well, time to go hunting. Alright, found it. Found the tall pot. It's a little bit taller than I anticipated, but just to get them started, I don't care. And since I'm not going to be doing all of my plants right now, and I do need to get more soil, I'm actually just going to put them halfway in this pot, and then hopefully by then they'll just grow straight up. Again, being smart, wearing gloves. These guys are spiky. I'm not 100% sure what species this is, but based on what I currently own, it looks like either an aloe or an agave. It does have thick leaves, so to say, when it's first growing, but then when it does get big enough, they tend to thin out. So I'm almost curious and just need to... Alright, so I've got 3 of them in there. One's super tiny in the corner here, and I've got the 2 adults. And I'm just gonna let them... Oh, and there's another baby that I completely missed. Ah, how cruel of me. Okay, so that one's got 4, and then as I'm moving stuff around... As I'm moving stuff around, found another baby. So I'm going to put that in this pot. Alright, so I'm doing upgrades, I'm doing downgrades, I'm doing cleanup, I'm doing soil refreshment, and I'm hoping this year that I can start actually talking about how to test the pH and the importance of pH for your succulents. And for a lot of you, I know everybody has questions about our grow lights important for my plants, and where I live, I just haven't used it. Also, A, I have kids, B, I have cats, C, I have a dog, D, I live in an apartment, so it's too hard to bring all of my succulents inside and have them be safe and not be eaten. So we'll definitely get into the chat about that. But hopefully this is a good update. I'll continue doing this week by week progress. Again, I'm still only watering my succulents. Now that they're all going to be on the same level, I'm going to consider just watering them once every 2 weeks, because I am still in a very moist area. Some of them I'll water once a week like they are supposed to, but the cactuses I haven't watered since my very last video when I said, hey, it's winter, I'm not watering them anymore, and they're looking fine. they're growing up. They're still pushing out flowers. One of them just pushed off a baby, so I'm feeling confident that they're doing fine in the soil that they are, even the giant skull. And then fairy cactus has gotten much bigger since the last time I saw it, so I'm happy about it. All right, tune in next time. Peace out, suckers.